What up? I'm Shep Apelka, and this is the Braves TomaBlog. So on this podcast, I want to talk about the question that I've been getting more than any other question, the player that everyone asks me about more than any other player. It's Julio Teheran. It's the question that I get more than anyone else because you guys absolutely hate him. I get, when can we trade Teheran? Do we trade him this offseason? How long do we have to put up with Teheran? Can we just take Teheran out of the rotation? So I want to take a podcast and just address all Julio Teheran questions. Teheran has been, I would just describe him as bad, unimpressive at best. 4.48 ERA, 128 WHIP. The 128 WHIP is appalling, and honestly, I'm surprised that it's that low because I remember at the beginning of the year, I was looking at it, it was around like 170. I'm looking at his 10-game log right now. The walks are out of control. Yesterday against the Mets, 4 walks, 4 walks game before that, 2 walks, 3 walks, 3 walks, 4 walks, 2 walks, 3 walks, 3 walks, 3 walks. Those are his last 10 games. In those 10 games, I see 3 shutouts and 2 7-inning performances on less than 5 innings. 4.2 and 4.1 though, so it's not like Teheran ever gets shelled and gets chased early. The rest of this, you can rely on him for 5 to 6 innings almost all the time. So that's the thing that I've always described. It's the good thing about him. It's the thing that makes him valuable is that, you look at other teams paying Scott Kazmir, and that's us paying Scott Kazmir this year, but Mike Leake, Rich Hill, Drew Pomeranz, all types of guys who they're there to eat innings and they're not there to pitch that well. Bronson Arroyo used to be a guy like that, made a ton of money not being good. That's what Teheran can be at minimum, as a 200-inning guy that's not good. Problem is that we're in a pennant race. So in terms of that other question, when can we get rid of Julio Teheran? My answer to that has been 100% consistent, and it's true for all pitchers. When you have 5 guys that are better than him, when you have 5 pitchers that you know are better than Julio Teheran, get him out. I don't care what you can cover the contract. I mean, it's not that expensive, but you can trade him. It's easy. He's easily expendable. 5 guys that are better than him, you can move on. Is that our situation? Some people would argue yes. I have a hard time with it. For one, Brandon McCarthy, I don't know. Is he done? I haven't heard a peep out of Brandon McCarthy or about Brandon McCarthy. I see him in the dugout sometimes. I haven't heard anything about his update. I didn't even hear what his injury was. They just shut him down. So it appears as though we're doing this without Brandon McCarthy. We have 3 veterans in the rotation right now between Sanchez, Teheran, and Gausman. And I said in my response video to the trade deadline, we don't really need 2 innings eaters next year between Teheran and Gausman, so they're essentially pitching for their spot on the Braves roster for next year. After each of them had to start after the trade deadline, advantage Gausman. Gausman looked a lot better. Teheran, we got the win on Sunday, but he bumbled and stumbled through the start. He did the same thing against the Marlins 2 starts ago. It's these walks. He can't locate his fastball. And if you can't locate the fastball or if the velocity is down, you can't really do much else off of that because you have to throw a fastball, and if it's bad, other teams can either wait on it or attack it. You can't lean on a slider first. So that's what's broken. You fix that, Teheran's back to the guy that he was. And at his best, he's been an all-star twice and an innings eater. He's always pitched a lot of innings ever since he was a rookie. Do we have 4 guys better than that? I mean, a lot of people would they're so sick of Teheran, they would like to see him just booted from the rotation. Put Allard in there, put Tookie in there. You're telling me that we're in a playoff race right now. We're going to try to make the playoffs, and we're competing against some good teams with good pitchers, and you're telling me that you'd rather have Colby Allard, who has 1 career start in which he gave up 4 earned runs against the Marlins? You'd rather throw in Tookie, who, 5 minutes ago he couldn't locate at Double-A, and now you want to boot a 2-time All-Star out of the rotation for that guy? You could bring Tookie up. You say, oh, Tookie's red hot. Throw him in the rotation. What if he gives up 6 earned runs in his first start? Now you got to send him back down to Triple-A and say, hey, get back to pitching like you were. His confidence is going to be hurt. It's what happens. As far as Allard, how much better do you think Allard is than Tookie? Allard gives up a lot of hits. He doesn't have great velocity. He leans on his secondary stuff. He's got a great changeup. He's got a curveball. I think it's major league ready, but it's not ready. You want to throw him into a pennant race and say that you're going to be better than Teheran? I'm not so sure about that. So I'm not saying don't give innings to Allard or Tookie, I think especially out of the bullpen, or getting them some starts here or there. I think that could be a positive thing, but you're going to tell me you're going to boot a 27-year-old two-time All-Star out of the rotation for those guys, and you think that makes you better? I'm pretty skeptical about that. So in terms of what can we do about Teheran, help him fix his fastball. That's the quickest solution here. I hate to say it because it'd be nice if we just had another guy that we could go to. You could say make an August trade. I guess that's always on the table. You never know. That could happen. And if we add a guy in August, Teheran's out of the rotation. So that's fine. But in terms of we needed another starter, we did get one. Teheran's not out of the rotation yet. We still have Teheran in there because he's one of the 5 best starters. So in terms of that, I don't know what else to tell you. This is our guy. The reality of the situation, and this is important to keep in mind with everything I tell you, is that this was an 80-win roster. Every projection system said, Fangraphs said 72 wins at the beginning of the year. Everything else said, 82 wins at best. And that's what I was part of it. I was saying it at the beginning of the year. This is a 500 team if things go right. Because we won 72 games last year. Now, we were hoping to be 80 wins. Now we want to make the playoffs. So we need 87 and 90 wins. So we need 7 to 10 more wins in there than everything said that our roster was capable of being. Now, we made some additions. We got Gausman, we got Venners, we got Brock, we got Duvall. Are those guys 7 to 10 win difference in those guys? No, of course not. They're guys that to help the guys that you have that have already overachieved. We need a ton of overachievement to get 7 to 10 more wins than every system said that this roster was capable of getting. And on the topic, systems don't like Julio Teheran. His fielding independent pitching is atrocious. He needs defense behind him. Fortunately, our defense has been improved, though it hasn't been great the last few days. The defense is carrying Teheran right now. It kind of always has been. Obviously, that's why Teheran was a lot better a few years ago when we had Anderson Simmons behind him. But this is what we got. And I hate to say it, but I don't know that there's anything better behind him that you can lean on right now. A trade could come in, but I think in the offseason, because I'm going back to my assumption that we only need one innings eater type guy in the rotation next year when you have Newcomb, Fulte, Soroka, Allard, Wright, Tookie, Gohara, Fried. They're all going to be competing for spots, and you have Teheran and you have Gausman, and maybe we could bring Sanchez back. I don't know. It's not for here. I don't think that you need Gausman and Teheran in that rotation, so you get rid of one of them. In terms of which one, I think that's going to be based on the first starts that I've seen out of them. I think we bring back Gausman and we trade Teheran. And I think that's pretty easy. I think that you call up Tampa Bay and say, hey, we've got Teheran. He's on a cheap contract that you can afford. He can't locate his fastball. You guys are good with pitchers. If you can help him locate his fastball, you can trade him for a lot more. Just give us a reliever, a bench bat, and a medium-level prospect. You can trade him for a lot more if you can fix him. You'd probably say, okay, you could trade him to Toronto. I think they'd be into the same thing. I think a non-competitive team that's interested in flipping him at the deadline, that would be a good deal for them if you could get some things that we need. So, a bench bat, maybe a right field bat, and a bullpen arm, and then get a prospect in there to go along with that. I think that'd be extremely easy to do. But that's when we have 5 pitchers that we know can be better. Do we have that right now? I don't know that we do. If Fried starts overperforming, if Allard just starts killing, I'm all for getting Allard some starts. If he starts earning his starts, then fine. Or if Teheran gets worse and he starts giving up 5 runs every single 5 runs on 5 innings every single time, then yeah, you are better off with Tookie or Allard. Are we there right now? That's not what I'm seeing. So fix the fastball and we're golden, and we're in a great situation. If not, this is what we got. We're trying to take an 80-win team and turn them into a 90-win team. We need players to play better, or we need prospects to overtake it and arrive early. I know that that's kind of a bummer. or something really inspiring if it happens, because thus far it has, and there's been a lot of great performances we weren't anticipating. We weren't anticipating Ozzy being this good, or Camargo, or Culberson. Certainly not Markakis. So I'm going to close it off there, and this is going to be fun. Why don't you guys tell me what you think of Julio Teheran in the comments section? I know that you've been doing that already, but I'm expecting some long, thoroughly thought out comments on this one. So yeah, thank you guys for listening. This is the Braves TomaBlog. It's a YouTube channel where I talk about the Braves and baseball in general. I hope you enjoyed listening, and go Braves.